Hello, guys. Welcome to Querying Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality, the LGBTQ Center for Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality. This is, we are still doing Women's Month, and we had done the other video, but it cut off because I got lost talking so much about Egypt and the screen went off. So when the screen goes off, the video cuts. So I'm now doing part two of it. So, I want to tell you about, I was talking about Egypt, and I was saying Egypt was so advanced, and same to Babylon. And this Egypt is an African country. Yes, that's what you need to understand. So now, Europe. Do you know Europe was backward? People think that the cathedrals were built. Europe was a bush forest. There were no buildings in Europe. Go to England, Stonehenge is still there. They were building with stones. They even lived in grass huts. Hey, you're joking with ancient Europeans. And because it was getting very cold, it could get cold, that's when they started building with stone. Go and read about the history of ancient Europe. It's harsh. Very harsh. Because they had to learn how to live in snow. In winter. The Eskimos, they don't even feel anything. They know how to build. They build houses with snow stones. Ice. Beautiful. Go and look at the Eskimos, how they live. They live in snow 24/7, 365. So Europe, the Europe you're seeing today, it was not like that in the year 500 BC. Even that's too late. 1000 BC, it was very open, bushy, everything. But and then when they became religious, Greece and other parts of Europe, especially Greece and Rome, because they got knowledge from Egypt, they became civilized. So civilization actually came from Egypt and Babylon and India, because those countries were already civilized. Europe was not civilized. Civilization is Middle Eastern, African, and Asian. That's what you need to understand. Organized. Oh my, Egypt. I just sing praise to it. Okay. So that's what you need to understand about life is the old religious writings, they are so basic and lacking in science. But now we have science. Okay, so we are now going to talk about women, and we've looked at different verses that talk about women. And Jeremiah lamented for Josiah, and all the singing men and the singing women spoke of Josiah in their lamentations to this day, and made them an ordinance in Israel. And behold, they are written in the Lamentations. The book of Lamentations is a book by Jeremiah, but with the choir. You see, the choir, there were singing men and singing women. This means the Levites, because in Israel, the only singing tribe, the tribe that was to sing, was the Levite. So this verse is very important to show you that also women were singing. They were singing. And this would mean these were the Levite women. They were the singers of that day. Is that beautiful? Yes. And the choir was there. Have you seen? That's a choir. Let's go back to that verse. Singing men and singing women. That's a choir. The choirs you see today of men and women singing, or men alone, or women alone. Yeah, choirs have been in the world. This was in the year 1000, not 1000 BC, sorry. Jeremiah existed in around 600, 500 BC. You see, and they had a choir, very organized, very advanced, community or nation. Now let's come to Ezra. And there they assembled a very great congregation of men and women and children. So congregations were also made of women. Then the daughters of Job, when he got a replacement for his, he lost his children, then God gave him back his children. And it says, and in the land there were no women found so fair as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. So here you see women got inheritance. So even the daughters were getting inheritance. In Israel, the law, Moses' law, girls did not get inheritance. They will only get it if there is no boy and no relative from the father's side. That's when they get it. But Job gave his daughters inheritance. Very interesting. So, okay, let's see what Psalm says. King's daughters were among thy honorable women. Upon thy right hand did stand the queen in gold of Ophir. Now Ophir is in the east. So the daughters of the kings, very many kings, their daughters were the honorable women. So women also can be honorable according to the Bible. Now look at this. I know the feminists will scream when they read this verse. Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. So, of course, this part of Proverbs was not written by Solomon. It was written by Lemuel. And is saying, give not thy strength unto women. Some people believe King Solomon was destroyed because he gave himself to women. He married very many women. So people said, this guy, even though Israel is peaceful, he did not love God very much because he had very many women. And it's understandable, if you have very many, if you're in a polyamorous relationship, it's very hard to even have a very strong relationship with God. Yes. It's very true. When you're in a monogamous relationship, leave monogamous, when you are single and you're religious, my goodness, the relationship you'll have with God. You see Enoch? Enoch loved God so much, he walked with him every day, he went with him. God said, I'm going with you. Because he had a very deep relationship with God. But the moment you add people to in your time, life is time. So the more people you add in your time, the less time you'll have for everyone. And so what does that mean? You will not have a very strong relationship even with everyone. Reason being, I'm so happy with Lady Gaga and her other friend who sang the song Shallow. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. Beautiful revelation. That when you have so many people, there's a shallowness that appears. It's because your time is given to very many people. Your life is given to very many people. And therefore, you are not able to love people deeply. You see, you're not able to love them deeply. So that's what happened to King Solomon, because he had a lot of women, concubines, and of course concubines, women. Well, even a man can be a concubine. So he had the concubines and women, and that means he could not have time to to go and worship God. I mean, his father also had very many wives, but not as many as him. And he still had time to love God. That's why David used to pray 7 times a day. And it's not that you can't spend time, even if you have very many wives or spouses or girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever, it's all about you balancing your time. Like David had his 5 wives, 6 wives, but he says that I talk to God 7 times a day. So which means he organized his day and said, at this time, God. Then this time, wife number 1. Next time, God. Next time, wife number 2. Like that. So it's not about how many you have. It's about what you give your time to. So some people, they can give their time to. And that's why single people are the best to do God's work or religious work, because they don't have any commitments dragging them down. That's what Paul said. He didn't encourage married people to be in full-time ministry, because the child will be crying for milk and you're there preaching, insisting, I have to preach this gospel, and the child is crying. You see, that's why many pastors' homes are in a mess. It's because they are trying to do 2 things at once. It's impossible. You will just, the best pastors are single pastors. Yes, they have no commitment. They will do the work. A married pastor is below a single pastor. I'm telling you. Take it from me. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. Yes, a single pastor is stronger than a married one, because he has no commitments. She has no commitments. She has less commitments, because the only commitment is herself or himself. Anything else is by the way. But a married pastor with children, oh my goodness, is in total mess, because his mind is on, not only is he preaching, he has to think about the child, school fees, then the child has fallen sick, then this has happened. I always tell parents, please, when you have a child, know you've added another life like you. You see, the problem, most people, that's why when they don't do family planning, they make a big mistake. Because a child is equal to an adult, and is even harder, because an adult eats. That means a child will eat. An adult falls sick. That means a child can fall sick. All of those things, just everything you need as an adult, a child needs, and even more. So what does that mean? When you have your child, be prepared for the expenses. Yes, be prepared for the expenses, because the child will cry, I've fallen sick today, and then he'll miss school, and then he'll go to school, then he needs books, then he needs that. So it's a very interesting life. Now imagine you're a pastor, and then people come and beg you for money. You can't help them. You see, that's the problem we're having in very many churches, is that people hate their pastors when it's not, you shouldn't hate them. It's that they are doing too much. They put too much burden on themselves. That's why the Catholic Church, even though it's going through its hell, its trouble, it's a very good system. Yes, they have single men and women. They run the church. That's the best system. Because they are committed to the church. But these other Protestant churches, oh my, it's hell. Because the pastor is there, the child has just called, he's been suspended, and he's in the middle of a sermon. The phone is ringing, and we want to see you now. Now, what does that mean? At the end of the service, the pastor runs away. He doesn't see his congregants. Then the congregants hate him, because he doesn't even care about us. You see. So that's it. Please understand the Protestant denomination. It has those problems because they didn't borrow the Catholic system of single ministers. But single ministers are the best. They have less commitments, then followed by the married. So what should even happen is, in my view, create a system like Paul did it. Paul already did it. Paul had his church system had single and married ministers. He was single. And the rest of the bishops, they were married in his church system. That's what you need to understand. Okay. That was a very interesting verse. Okay, so from the Old Testament, there's really not much about women. It's not so much. And even Jesus, I don't think Jesus really talked so much about women. Yeah, you see, Jesus didn't really talk about women that much. Look at that. No red. You see, when you don't see red, that's Jesus didn't say a thing in the book of Mark. Yes, you see. You see, no red. Very little red. So Jesus really didn't talk to he didn't talk to women that much. No red. Sorry. Yeah, so Jesus didn't really talk about. So I want us to focus on Paul, John, and Peter, and then we'll be done. And here Paul is attacking lesbians. Even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. One thing I've learned about Paul, as I told you, Paul was bipolar in the last video. Reason why he was bipolar, he was listening to the Old Testament and then he had the New Testament. You see, Christianity, even the Christian Bible, the New Testament, is a mixture of the Old and the New. That was, to me, it is a bit of a challenge. I mean, I won't call it a mistake. I'm calling so many things mistakes. It's a challenge because I think the best thing that should have happened, the New Testament should only have had the words of Jesus, and then you don't add another teaching. That is what I think it should have happened. But the moment you had other teachings, these guys, because Jesus died and resurrected and went to heaven, so he was not in the world, these guys had to teach to keep the followers going. So they had to read the Old Testament. And when you read the Old Testament, it means you're going back to Moses. You're not going to Jesus. What should have happened is build on the theology of Jesus. Build on his theology. That's what they should have done. But they not only built on the theology of Jesus, then they added some Old Testament theology, and that's what called confusion. So you see here, Paul was attacking women that were lesbians. And to him, he thought these women, they changed to become lesbian. No, it's natural. It's natural. Yes, it is natural. It's unbelievable. But it's believable because the science is there. The evidence is there. All right. So these guys, we forgive them. They didn't have evidence, and they spoke too soon. You see, they were trying to explain to people, why are they lesbians? Then they said they are because they're evil. You see, he didn't know the science. But if the science was very strong that day, imagine, think of it. If the world started with science, if countries were born, people were born, the first humans, when they came on Earth or were found on Earth, they go and find laboratories already ready. science stations. Every country has a science station. Do you know we'd be in a different world? But because the first humans, when they came, they didn't find science labs. There was no electricity. Their mind was shaped according to the environment that had no labs. And that's what happened. That's why humans are more religious than scientific. It's because religion was fast. Religion was to answer scientific questions. You see, the word sun in the Bible, it's not based on science. It's not based on science. The word moon is based on the word month. Menstruation is based on the word month because they noticed women always shed every month. And the moon is monthly. It goes through the whole phase of the moon orbit revolution around the earth is 1 month. The moon. So English and language, the creators of language, they combined common meanings, commonalities, had shared words. So like menstruation is from the word menses, which is month, and which is also the moon in Latin, mens, and of course lunar. So that's what happened. Now, if there were science stations at the beginning of the world, when the world began, my goodness, Paul would not write this. He would write something else. We'd be reading physics. Romans 1:26 would be saying that when you do this, the acceleration increases and then leads to this and this. That's what you'd be reading now. But because that was not the environment then, you are reading someone going on ad hominem, full blast. So, and then also we have, so that is Paul's view in Romans. And then in 1 Corinthians, Paul goes on to say, let your women keep silence in their churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience. Also saith the law. Are you seeing Paul's bipolarity? Also saith the law. And I'm wondering which verse is this. We're going to do the scripture references to show you where this come from. So you see, this is why I'm saying he was bipolar, because he was depending on the law rather than giving a new expression. And he even contradicted himself. You're going to see it. Okay. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. Can you imagine? This is in the Bible. It is a shame for women to speak in the church. Shame? No, it shouldn't be a shame. A woman is just a human being. I'm going to show you his contradiction. Let's just do it now. Let's just do it. Come on. Let's just do it now and look at this contradiction of Paul. Not 1 Corinthians. Okay, where was it? Let me see if I can remember. No, I don't think it's there. I think it is female. Let's see how many times female appears. 24 times. Okay. Let's see how many times male appears. 46 times. Okay, not bad. more or less equal. Female 24. Yes, here, look at now Paul contradicting himself. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female. For ye are all, listen to that, all one in Christ Jesus, all of us. There is no male. Now listen to this English. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither male nor female. What else do you want to interpret from that? That's English, plain English. See? Now, let's go back. No male or female. Then he comes here and says, oh, women, it's a shame for you to talk in the church. It's a shame for you to talk in the church. You see? So what do you call that? That's a contradiction. But it's not a contradiction. It's a contradiction. It's a change of heart. And we're going to do a video in the philosophy channel when we will discuss about logic and speech. That when does someone contradict himself? In my view, someone contradicts himself in the same sentence or in the same moment in time. But if that moment in time passes, that person is, what do you call it? That person is not contradicting himself. He's in another place in time, so he has said something different. So he has changed his position. He is not contradicted himself. Contradiction should happen in the same text, in the same moment in time. That's my view. And we're going to discuss about that. So I think like the letter to the church in Corinth, this one was written after the letter in Galatians. I have my notebook somewhere. I can't get it right now. It shows the order. I think I have it somewhere. It shows the order of the books in the Bible that were written. Which was the first book and the first letter that was written. And I want to look at it quickly, hoping I'll get it very fast. It's very important, because you need to know how old those letters are and which letter came first. Because when you read the Bible, you think that, the way the books are arranged, that is how it was. No, that's not it. Okay. Let's go. Let's read. I hope I get it very fast. If I don't get it fast, I will not bother. I wrote it down. I know you're hearing things turning. Those are my pages, and I've been writing some things very fast. Okay, I can't find it right now, so I don't think I'm going to dwell on it. Remember last time when we were looking for the Quran, the number of times they say women, we didn't find it, so let's not bother. I'll do that next time. But the book of Galatians was written before. So Paul had... So what am I trying to say? When we're going to look at Paul's teachings, we will look at them in the years. And then you'll find the first letters, he was a bit universalist. But at the end of his life, or his theological life, he changed his views and became more misogynistic. Maybe it's because when he had experiences with women, in the church, he maybe found it very burdensome, and then now said, you know what, tell these ladies, nah, they don't need to talk. We've heard them, and oh my God, it's too much. So that's maybe what happened to him. But before, when he started, he was so excited. We are all one. We are all united. There's no Jew, there's no Greek. And everyone was so happy to hear the message. And then suddenly he changes his heart and says, you know what, guys? I think women are different from men. So that's not a contradiction. That's a change of position. So that's why you're seeing some letters he supports women, other letters he doesn't. It's change of position. And it happens to very many speakers, teachers, anybody in a speaking profession goes through change of position and contradiction. We'll talk about that later. So anyway, so you see, Paul, people may say this guy was misogynistic, but you need to look at the stage. When did he say it? Which year? Was it in the beginning or at the... And you see, Paul was a new Christian when he started writing the book of Galatians. So, but when he started writing Timothy and the others, he was a very mature pastor, apostle, who knew a lot. And he saw very many things in the church. Remember, the widows were fighting. Women were fighting for food because they didn't want to give food to the Greek women, the widows. So there was war. So that can only happen when you have experience. You can never write that there is no war when you've never even met each other. You will only write about war when it has happened. Okay, so that's Paul. Now, let's see another verse here. And I entreat thee also, true yokefellow, help those women which labored with me in the gospel, with Clement and with my fellow laborers. So, look at Paul, what he's saying here. Help those women who labored with me in the gospel. You see? So Paul is here recognizing women who worked with him to preach the gospel. So you see, you can't call him misogynistic. He was working with women. So this is what you need to understand. The letter of Philippians was not written at the same time with the letter of Corinthians or the letter of Galatians. They all had different time zones. That's what I'm telling you. That's how you read a book, especially the Bible. The problem of the Bible, it has too many time zones. Too many. Imagine talking about Moses 1000 BC, 2000 BC, then you talk about Jesus 30 AD. Look at that confusion. You know, you're going through time. If you draw it, if you were to draw it physically, it's like you're running back to the past, then coming back to the present, then going to the future, then running back to the past. Then when you draw that movement, it's confusion. Go and read a science textbook. There is no confusion. It is very orderly, logically orderly. And who knows, maybe people, mentally disordered people, schizophrenics, most of them are religious because they are reading a book that has disorganized time zones. It makes you go to you're always running. You run to the past, you come back to the present. Go to the past again, then jump to the future, then come back to the present, then go back to the past. Look what happens when you go to churches and have Bible study. They're always standing. Go to the book of Revelation. Then now let's go to Daniel. Then remember there's something in Matthew. So that's what happens. So if you're to draw that in the brain, my God, it's like a car flying over. So that's what's happening to, and this is what you see in the brain. Okay. Now, are we done with Paul? I think we're done with Paul. And then Paul also talked about women's dressing. And he wanted women to dress modestly. He didn't want to see rich women. You see, I don't want to see women with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array. You see, he didn't want to see women wearing expensive clothes. I wonder why. But they should have good works. And then he's also talking about women, younger women, the widows. He wanted them to marry. Like, I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. So basically, that was his view. He wanted younger women to marry. But again, as I told you, this is a contradiction to what he said in 1 Corinthians 9, when he told a woman that if you want to stay unmarried, so that you can serve God. So there you go. He always changes his mind. It's hilarious. Then here he says, now look, another change of position, that they may teach the young women. He said, let the old women teach. Then yet he said, women should not teach. So what is he saying? But you see, he has an excuse. This is the book of Titus. And remember, the other mistake of Bible. Yes, I'm not afraid to say mistake. I'm telling you what I'm saying, I can tell God. Yes, that's how firm I am. And that's what I'm doing. As I'm talking to you, even the gods are listening. So join in, Elohim. He's joining, he's listening. I don't know where he is, but he's listening. So, she's listening, or they are listening. And so anyway, the what I'm trying to say is, you see, the women, he's saying the letter to Titus was a letter to Titus. It was not a letter to a church. When you look at the letters of Paul, there are different types of letters. There was a personal letter and the public letter. Now, the public letter went to different cities that Paul had visited. Paul did not visit Paris. There is no letter to the Parisians. It's not there. So it would be madness if Paul was going to write to the church in Paris and he has never stepped there. All these letters that have geographical locations, he stepped there. That's what he did. Then you have the private letters. He was writing to one person. This is a letter to Titus. It's a private email. We have got his inbox. My God, Paul, so sorry. We've read your personal writings. So, in the early church, when Paul was still alive, this letter was not read. It was only written to Titus. And Paul was giving instructions to Titus. This is what you do. Tell the old women to teach the young women. You see, that's an order. So after Titus has read the letter, the email, he goes and tells the aged women, hey, women, I want to meet you. We're going to have a meeting. And the women come. Yeah, now, this is what, he can choose not to say Paul. He can just say, you know what? Today, I'm very serious. Old women, please, teach these young women. You're not been teaching them. That's why they are disorderly. He can choose not to say Paul said. At the same time, he can say, Paul has just told us that we are doing things badly. So, old women, start teaching the young ones. You can do it that way. So what am I trying to say? I'm just trying to tell you that these letters were written to one person. Yes. But the mistake of the Bible collectors, they added these personal letters to become letters to be read in public. And that's why we are seeing these problems of contradictions. Of course, it's not contradictions, it's sometimes change of position. It's actually change of position, but it can also be a contradiction. Though I don't think Paul contradicted himself when he told the church in Corinth that a woman should be silent, women should be silent. Then he told Timothy in the personal letter, do not let a woman teach. So the personal letter and the public letter agreed, because in public he said women keep quiet, in private he said women should keep quiet. But then here now he's telling Titus, no, tell them to teach, tell the old women to teach. By the way, Paul, I think he was very kind to the old women. He noticed something, that they are more mature, they don't have the post, they don't have menstruation. Yes, food for thought, but that is for another day. Okay, I think we're done with Paul. Let's see another guy. Okay, that's Paul. Now, another guy who talked about women was Peter. And Peter said, for after this manner, in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. So are you seeing the problem that was in the church? Women were not subjecting to their husbands. And let me tell you, this is not about church. This is nature. Women tend to be very creative, very independent minded. They like doing their things, and they really they know. I think it's because of nature. Because the man appears strong, they have a feeling like, oh, he thinks he's strong, I'm going to show him that I'm the boss. So that feeling makes women not subject to men. Now look at this. This is Peter. This is a man. He's a man. He's telling women what to do. You see, it sounds very very patronizing or very patriarchal for a man to tell a woman what to do for a man. But at the same time, it's not patronizing, because this is a man. And remember, Peter was married, so he knows what he wants from a woman. So he's advising them, this is what you should do. So what you need to understand is it's cultural, it's biological. Even these wars we're having, the feminist wars we have, it is basically biological. Yes. And hormonal. Yeah. It's because men are different from women. So, and in nature, men are strong. So, naturally, not all men. And what I mean by strong, physically, not mentally strong. Yeah. A woman can be even more mentally, in fact, they are mentally stronger than men. Yes, their brains are more interconnected than a man's brain. That's a fact. That's science. So that means a woman's mental strength is it's like that. But when you look at her physically, most women, they are very petite, not strong, so weak, But that doesn't mean they are weak inside. Yes, that's what you need to understand. And then men can be physically strong, mentally weak, or mentally strong. So don't think that just because a man is big, he's also mentally weak. No, he has a big brain. A man's brain is bigger than a woman's. So that's what you need to know. We are different even though we are the same. Like, women and men are humans, but they have different features, much as they have same features. Like, all women and men have mouths, but not all men have mammary glands. You see? It's very interesting. So these guys, they wanted that, And it's understandable. But now in the modern world, everybody has a say. And everybody can subject to each other. Yes, you can have a female boss, you can have a female president. Look at in New Zealand, it's a female prime minister. Are the men complaining that a woman is in charge? No. It's because we have now reached the age of science. We now know women and men are equal. That's what you need to know. Good. So this was Peter's view, and Peter also was a patriarch, just like Paul. And lastly, we look at John. John said, "These are they which were not defiled with women." That's a very weird English. For they are virgins. Now, the beauty of this verse is that there are men who are virgins. You know, virgins is basically for women. And even look at it, Parthenos, a maiden, an unmarried daughter. Now, why did John call certain men virgins? It's because they did not sleep with women. That's what you need to understand. Now, the importance of that is that when a man doesn't sleep with a woman, he's a virgin. And when a woman doesn't sleep with a man, or even if a woman doesn't sleep with a woman and a man doesn't sleep with a man, he's also a virgin. So virginity exists for every gender, irrespective of the sex, whether it's homosexual or heterosexual. Yes. So so what makes me laugh about this thing is John sounds like if you're with a woman, you can be defiled. And another thing you need to know about sex in the ancient time, sex was unclean. It was bad manners. It was dirty. So anybody who didn't have sex was a clean person. That's why these men were called virgins. They never had sex with women. And women who even don't have sex with men, that's why Mary was called the Virgin Mary. It's because she didn't have sex with a man and she became pregnant. IVF, I call it. So that's what you need to know. And but sex in those days was viewed as dirty. Menstruation was viewed as dirty. Release of semen was viewed as dirty. That is now the ancient way of viewing sex. Today, the modern way of looking at sex, it's not dirty. Yeah, you want to do it? Come on, let's do it. You know? Yes, and it's okay. I support the modern view of sex. I believe sex is okay and you can have it with anyone of consenting age. Yes, be it homosexual or heterosexual, I have no problem whatsoever. Have it. Know how to do it. Watch porn. Yes, I also support pornography watching. It helps you to know how to do it better. Read about your body. Yes, read. Don't just do things, Someone is just saying, I'm going to have sex, and you just ask yourself, what have you done? Yeah, go and read. Make it better. I know there are diseases out there. That's what makes people not do sex a lot. But there's ways to protect yourself. Now we even have PrEP. We have the HIV medicines are very good. They're even making people undetectable. So don't sweat. I mean, make it a habit, especially if you're sexually active. Of course, not everybody is sexually active, and it's understandable. But if you're sexually active, uh, take your health seriously. Go to the clinic anytime you see something, but don't stop having fun. Yes, science is there and it's keeping us well. All right. So that's John's views. Now we end our video with, this was the plural. Now look at the singular. Woman appears 360 times. Man appears 2,615 times. So you can see there was a lot of emphasis put on men rather than women. Now, why am I showing you this? I'm showing you the ancient world. Their emphasis was on men. But the modern world, the emphasis is now both on women, and then now the current time we're in, the emphasis should be on humans, not meaning both men and women. Human rights. Human rights is above gender. It's above sexual orientation. It's above economic stature. It's above everything. If you are a human, your human rights should be accorded, irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your sexual orientation, irrespective of your race, irrespective of your economic stature. No argument. And we are supposed to walk like that. I'm training myself that when I see a white person, I'm seeing a human. When I see a poor person, I'm seeing a human. When I'm seeing a transgender, I'm seeing a human. When I see a woman, I'm seeing a human. Then the other identities will come later. In fact, the solution to the identity politics crisis is to go back to the human rights doctrine. That is the solution. Right now, the world is going through chaos. One of the reasons being identity politics. Identity politics is a bit scary for humans because people are valuing their identities, and when they value their identities too much, they become exclusive and they start hating those who are not in their identity class. So if you're not gay, someone will hate you and will want to stay with only his gay clique. If you're not a white person, those whites will hate you because you're not my kind, So it's because people have emphasized their identity, their unique identity. To solve that and to foster an environment of inclusion and inclusivity, what you do is stress the commonality, and that is the human nature, and tell people that we are all humans irrespective of our sexual orientation, irrespective of your color, irrespective of your economic stature. Yes, that's what you need to understand. When you go to a concert, does someone ask you, how much do you have in your bank account? Because I don't want to stand next to a poor person. No. You go to the concert, you don't even care who is standing next to you. He's a human. You go on with life. Because if you know the sexual orientation of the person next to you, and he just tells you, I'm a pansexual. And you see, that's what happens now when you get to know someone's identity. And the person runs away because he feels like, oh my God, I'm standing next to this. I don't even know what it is, So stress on on the commonalities, but know the unique identities. It's not bad to know about pansexuals. It's not bad to know about women. It's not bad to know about black people. It's not bad to, everybody should. Let me tell you, what I'm doing is just suggestions. I'm not ordering you, but believe you me, if half of the world takes what I'm saying and does it, there will be peace forever. It's a fact. Because when you know every race, and that's the other reason why QSTPS is here, we are giving you knowledge of all religions so that you don't, when you see a Muslim, you don't panic. Knowledge kills fear. Knowledge is love. It's unity, it's sex. So when you know about Islam and you're a Hindu, when you meet the Muslim, you even tell him, Assalamu alaikum. You know, you're not scared. You know Islam. You know what it's teaching. And you feel at peace. Yes, but if you don't know Islam, and then you hear a story that there's a Muslim terrorist that has bombed somewhere, when you meet a Muslim, you'll fear him because you don't know what he believes in and you've heard bad things about his religion. You see? So that's what happens. So my advice, I don't want to sound patronizing and ordering people. Let's learn. If you're a woman, learn about men. Don't just go and attack a man because he's a man. You don't even know what he goes through. Go and read about men, their body, their psychology, and know they are not like women. And the same to men. Go and read about women. Because for men, you see, men don't understand. Most men who are not allowing women to get power in the society, it is based on a misunderstanding of women. They don't want to know women. So they don't understand that women can also be leaders. As I've told you, in New Zealand, did the men strike? New Zealand has the best rugby team in the world. Very macho men. The best. Big muscle. And weird enough, they're not even so big, but they do very well in rugby. And why have they not gone on strike that they have a female prime minister? And the mayor where the terrorist attack happened is a female. And no man has gone on strike. You see, it's a lesson to countries that are very misogynistic or oppressive to women. It's because you're supposed to give everybody a chance. Give them, everybody, a chance. Men, women, gay, lesbian. Give them a chance to be leaders. Yes, give them. You know, if you want to show people that you have given them a chance, give it to them. Give it. And say, here, we have given you. Let's see how you lead. Well, don't do it sarcastically. Just let them lead. Let them learn how to plan. Let them learn how to make decisions. Let them learn how to do this and that. Simple. Anyway, guys, I can't talk about that. So it was based on what we saw. Just look at how the ancient text, especially the Bible, talks about men more than women. But it's understandable. Men were the workers of the society. So at that time, women were not working in the society. They were not the builders, especially the Hebrew lifestyle. They were not the teachers. They were not the priests. There were very few women who managed to break the ceiling and lead, like Deborah, Athaliah, which other lady, Huldah, and all of these other ladies. Esther, Queen Esther, of course, she was not in Israel. She was in Persia. Yeah, so those ones, you see, there were very few. You see, I'm even counting them and even trying to look for the names. There were the few who broke the ceiling, but it was their lesson. Their example is to teach people that even women can lead, even women can make mistakes. Yes, Queen Athalia was a terrible queen. You know, she killed her own family because she didn't want anybody to rule other than her. She killed, and the maid saved the child from the death. And that's the guy who ruled in place of Athaliah, who was killed. So what I like about the Bible stories, even surrounding women, they don't show you perfect women. You know, that's the other thing that people need to understand. When we talk about women's rights, we are not saying women are perfect. We are just saying let everybody be equal. Yeah. That's all we are doing. When we say gays need equality, lesbians need, we're not saying they are more perfect. No, we're just saying let everybody get their rights. It's as simple as that, because we are all human.